Phase Hero, the Penguin finale review episode starts right now. I'm your host, Brandon Davis, joined tonight by Jenna Anderson.
Hi, everybody.
We've got Jamie Jirick.
Good night. I love a late show.
Can we actually, real quick, we gotta say something real quick before we get into the Penguin and before we introduce our fourth host here. For 4+ years, I mean, I've known Jamie a very long time, but I've always said Jamie Jirac. You've never corrected me, but I'm pretty certain it's Jirick.
It's Jirac. No, you've always been right. Today was the first time you went off the rails. It's
Wait,
Jirac.
but no, like I say Jirac. Like I say it like and I feel like every time you say your own name, you say ear.
Jirac.
Yeah, no, I was doing it wrong.
But if you say Jirac, it's also correct. Jirac or Jirac are both acceptable in my mind.
All right, well, it's Jamie Jurassic Park from now on. We also have Aaron Breen.
What's going on, everybody?
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to our Penguin review episode, because we are a show that talks about the Penguin, and this finale just wrapped up, so this is full spoilers. Welcome to, we got to get the bug to make it official, Phase Hero. All right, we're going to go around real quick to get instant reactions. We're diving into it. We're going to break the episode down, rate it out of 10 at the end. Talk about what this means for the Batman Part 2, because there's very obvious things that are huge and very exciting leading into the Batman Part 2. Based on how well I know my friends, I feel like the person who might be going first here might also not be the highest on the show. Aaron, I'm coming to you first. What did you think of the Penguin finale?
Definitely shocking. I was watching it with someone in our house that knows some of my predilections as far as other shows go. And I love like Time's Arrow, like BoJack Horseman, and some of the other like gut punch things with moms that might occur. And this definitely qualifies like supremely. So for the first 15 or so minutes, I'm like, oh, we are actually in like a space where I feel like I am very well equipped. And as it went on, it was like, wow, this is really, really, really hitting hard. It is going to be really difficult at the end of the like year to kind of rank and or place all of these things, because all of the shows that we've watched have done such different things. But, you know, for something that's clearly not in Aaron's lane, it was very gripping and stuff. It was very crazy. Like, there's so much wild stuff that happens, especially once you get the last 20 minutes. I'm like, what else is going to happen? What else can possibly go wrong?
Oh, I mean, it's okay. It's okay. Vic's dead. Jenna, what'd you think of the finale?
This is my second time seeing the finale. I did get to watch the entire series before it even premiered, and it still is a gut punch the second time around, honestly. And like as the show was airing week to week, seeing people tweet and kind of predict where we would end up was kind of hilarious. Of people being like, "Is Victor really long for this world? Are we even going to see him in the Batman Part 2? If anything happens to Sophia, we riot." And just kind of knowing where it was going to go. Still, in the context of the episode, it is, like Aaron said, so shocking, so just like well executed that you have to love it.
Jamie, what about you?
Fantastic. I mean, there were things that I absolutely knew was going to happen. I knew it was going to end on the bat signal. Come on. But, like, I did not see the Vic death coming. The poor Sophia back in Arkham. How dare they? How dare they? Oh, that poor woman. But it was, I mean, the mommy issues run deep. I mean, I've seen some mommy issues in my day. But I think we're reaching a whole new level with this one.
I was calling Sophia mommy like the last 4 episodes, so
different kind of mommy issues there.
Yeah, two separate things.
I loved it. I loved this show. It's been so exciting, especially in like the Agatha era, and everyone knowing I've been like Agatha, but getting to also tell people, but the Penguin. Like my mom, I talked to this week, and I was like, Mom, are you watching Penguin? She's like, oh, no, I haven't started it. I was like, Mother, you will love it. And it's fun to like get to do that with like a DC project, because my mom's not watching Harley Quinn, you know, like she's not watching the animated show stuff. So this was really exciting for me.
Yeah, I love the series, and I love the finale. I thought Vic's death, we'll get into this, but that was the one time I was like, did that have to happen? And I'm not just saying it because I like the character and like was rooting for him and felt like he was the heart of the show. That was one time that it felt like kind of almost a shock value moment. But also I get it. It solidified, Oz as being the worst person ever, which this episode did multiple times over. I think that the tension of this, like the showing, not telling of the Penguin as a whole, especially in this episode, in scenes we're going to discuss, were tremendous. I think Mick Giacchino's score is brilliant. The acting, like I forget that it's Colin Farrell, and I just think like I'm watching an Oz Cobb documentary. Like it's so good. I mean, this episode's fantastic. We're going to rate it out of 10 at the end of this episode of Phase Hero. But my score is going to be real high. I'll give you that little spoiler alert there. Real quick, before we get further into our Penguin discussion, a couple of things I want to let everybody know. First of all, tomorrow on Phase Hero, Victor Aguilar himself lives. No, he doesn't, but Renzi Feliz is on the show. We're going to have Renzi live. Jenna and I are going to be talking to Renzi right here on Phase Hero. There will be a new link available on the channel. We're also on all major podcast platforms. So if you've been listening to us on YouTube and you're asking, can you get it on Apple Podcasts? You get it on Spotify. One person kept asking, can you put it on Pocket Casts? And I said, what the hell is Pocket Casts? But the answer was yes. So Phase Hero, as far as I know, is on every podcast platform now. There's always a slight delay in getting the audio from these live episodes into podcast form. So we'll get them up as fast as possible. I'm going to stay up tonight, try to rip this episode and get it up there. But we thank everybody who's been leaving 5-star reviews. Also, on Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to go live for our Wednesday episode of Phase Hero, where we're just going to round up what's going on in film and TV, things that we're interested in, what's going on in the superhero worlds. We've got a lot of Marvel news that came out of D23. We've got DC. We got Peacemaker stuff just dropped before the Penguin episode. Skeleton Crew dropped the trailer. We haven't talked about that. We want to give you guys a Venom 3 review. See if we have to get a Venom 3 to 2. And also after that, we're going to have a second episode of Phase Hero live that day with a good friend of all of us here, Marvel's head of television streaming and animation, Brad Winderbaum. So enough about what's coming up on Phase Hero. Thank you so much for subscribing and having fun with us and doing all that. But now we got to go back to talking about the Penguin. So just make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any of that stuff. But all right, we got our reactions out. Pretty much universally loved this. Let's talk about Sofia Gigante. Another thing I think we all universally love. I want to talk about that torture scene first, though. Like, she broke Oz and his mom. That scene was insane. Like, I don't really know how to break it down other than the fact that I really appreciate that this show shows you and doesn't tell you. And that felt like the best form of exposition to make us know that Oz is a fucking lying piece of shit. I'm sorry. You can't use nice words to talk about this guy. This guy stinks. That's my takeaway. What do you guys think of those moments?
I mean, I think we're living in an age where we can use therapy as a weapon, and they did that against Oz. And I thought that was really interesting. I actually really loved the way the opening scene that it was a flashback, but she was her older self. I thought that was all executed really well and interestingly. And they got that out of her because of her illness. I don't think she would have given up that information just on her own. And I'm sure it's the last thing I was expected is to get blamed for his brother's death this late in his life. But he did it. We saw it.
Do you think he meant to? Do you think he meant to?
I have gone back and forth on this, and I think that I don't think he necessarily left them to die, but I think that once he saw that rain coming down, he knew that they were in danger and didn't say anything. I don't know if I think it was kind of a little, nothing's black and white, right? It's a little nuance, is what I think.
That's exactly what I was going to say when BD's like, oh, Oz is such a horrible character. I still see this nugget of empathy towards him. Like, I still don't entirely think like his actions, especially in this episode, are horrible. Like, there are no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But I still can see, and like, as the episode literally shows, of just the small child that was at the heart of a lot of the decisions that he's making, and kind of the abuse of the situation that he's been in, and in the world that he kind of grew up in. So like, I do feel a smidge of empathy towards him, and I am very curious and excited to see like what's next for him as a character. But at the same time, I can acknowledge like his actions are absolutely horrible. So I agree with you at least on that, but I think it is not black and white, like Jamie said.
I feel like it's kind of like taught us to empathize with him a bit because we understand what made him into this bad person. But the fact is, he's a really bad person. I mean, he was like gonna let them cut the finger off. It was like that's what that scene was telling us. He's such a piece of shit that he will sit there and let them cut his mother's finger off before he admits. Now listen, I've never murdered a sibling, so I don't know when it comes to covering something like that up. I don't know how far you go to make sure you never say that out loud. I imagine it would be pretty far if you're the kind of person who could do that in the first place. But that just went to show, even when she said, I know. And he still was like, I don't know what you're talking about, you're losing it, you're delusional. It's like, brother, good Lord, you suck. And I love watching you.
I love when a little bit of New Jersey comes out of BD.
Yeah, it's great.
Just a little bit.
Gotta like it in there sometimes, yeah.
I really want to shout out the scarf that's attached to the dress, because costume designer, love you so much. Thank you for the gifts you've given us on Sophia. Truly, truly grateful to you.
I also do have to say with this scene, with the like showing and not telling, and what Sophia also wants out of the scene, it's like as much as she's wanting to ruin Oz's life and kind of like have power over him, it's at the same time a lot of what she is saying about people know a thing but they want to hear it from the person also reflects her situation and Oz's role with like her getting in Arkham the first time. And so it's like I love how multifaceted that scene is, on top of just showing that Oz is willing to like almost get his mother's finger cut off. Like I think it has multiple purposes, which is great.
Yeah. And I mean, Sophia had a big old episode, not just because she went back to Arkham. She burned down the Falcone estate, which was pretty baller move. I feel like this show did so many things that like in other series, you'd be like, what the hell is this character doing? But the way everything is executed, it makes so much sense. And you buy all these crazy steps these people are making. Like this is the most into something like this, that's this deranged and this full of awful characters I've been, I think, since Game of Thrones. I mean, Succession was pretty awful people too, and very well written. I mean, Max just has a way, I guess. But her burning down the house was crazy.
I mean, as you're going to bequeath all this stuff to like the people, the other underworld bosses or whatever, it's like, it's such a corrosive element that, you know what, instead of doing that, let's just not give them that. Like, let's just take all of this stuff off the board, because it corrupts absolutely the entire way. Also, let's waste a ton of liquor. Just an absolute.
Yes.
And those cigarettes must have been stale. Man, that cigarette holder is from forever ago. I was sitting there in the background like, what is she gonna do with the other? Oh no. I was like, what's better than one fire? 3. Let's just get it all out of here. And the sad part is, even though she's deranged too, you completely F with all the decisions. Like, yeah, it's all gotta go. It's all gotta go up in flames. I'm sorry. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I know, chat. We'll get to Vic. I know. Why?
All right. Before one last thing about Sophia, I mean that twist at the end, where instead of I was sitting there like wincing, and I watched it twice tonight, and I was still wincing, and I knew what was going to happen the second time. When you thought Oz was going to blow her brains out, and then all of a sudden the light comes on, and he sold her out, and the councilman and the Gotham police bought into it. That was a hell of a twist. That transition with the light, and then the transition to the car door last week when the bomb went off. Like, man, this show doesn't freaking miss.
I hate Julian so much. I hate this man. And the fact that she got sent back to Arkham and he asked for his job back. I'm like, and I'm sure in his deluded mind, it's so he can look after her. Mm-hmm. No, there's some kind of power thing going on with that man. I do not like him at all. And him bringing her mail, I just like, he really disgusts me. I want that to go on record.
I'm glad I'm not the only one, because I have seen like the prevailing theory that was like, oh, Julian's going to become Hugo Strange. Like that's going to become like his and I'm like, no, I would rather have Hugo Strange be like a separate character, because like the way that Julian is gross in this show, it's like, nah, I don't need that all to mix together. But yeah, what were you going to say, BD?
Well, I was going to say, do we think he's going to be Hugo Strange or Scarecrow? Because we've seen, Edward Nygma became Edward Nashton, like Oz Cobblepot became Oz Cobb. Julian Rush could be a play on Hugo Strange or Scarecrow's real names, which both start with J's. I don't know. No, you don't think so?
I don't think we need to. I don't know.
He's kind of scarecrowy.
Matt
At first, I
Reeves-
was very anti. What?
Said Matt Reeves just being like, maybe leaving the door open for anything, possibly anything. You could tell me that the Batman 2 is about him renewing his permits after the floods, and I'd be like, yeah, that seems about right.
We want to talk. Let's wait till the end to talk about Batman and where he was, and how this impacts your perspective of Batman. And let's talk about Vic first. Vic. Somebody pour one out for the homie Vic. Gosh, that was this whole show. I was like, Vic's gonna die. Vic's gonna die. Vic's gonna die. There's 5 minutes left. Vic's gonna die. I had this spoiled for me. I'm not gonna lie. I had it spoiled for me a couple weeks ago. And even before that, it was just like you kind of could tell this kid was not making it out of the show. But it was a bummer to have it spoiled for me. But the silver lining is Renzi is on Phase Hero tomorrow. It'll be on the podcast, it'll be on the channel, so that'll be fun. But what do you guys think of that sequence at the end there?
I did not see it coming. Tony was like, "Oh, I saw it coming," and I was like, I'm sorry," because I think it's an like a BD, like you said, it like a bit of a shock value thing for sure. I agree with that, and I'm torn on the idea of I understand Oz's motives of doing it. Right, he doesn't want to have an attachment, but this is your guy. He's helping you in a way that no one else could. But as Tony rightfully pointed out, he's at the top of the tower. He's as big as he's going to get. He doesn't need that anymore, and it is really kind of sad. He could have just let him go. Like the dog thing. Get out of here! Yeah, run! Get out of here, dog! Like that kind of a thing. But instead, he choked him out.
My thinking is, because I agree with everything you just said, Jamie. I saw this coming to the extent of, yes, Oz is in a position of power at the end of this show, and we'll see whatever happens. But like whatever he's going to need to do next in order to maintain that level of power. Beatty's just laughing. I'm just going to keep talking. Whatever he needs in order to maintain that status is going to be a line that Victor's not going to want him to cross. And so like having Victor in his corner, he would get more resistance and he would kind of go against the relationship that they have had over the course of the show. That's my theory, is that he's going to just get worse and worse and he doesn't want Victor as the angel on his shoulder kind of checking.
I like that. It's also worth noting, as people are saying in the comments, this killing Vic this is a show about a villain, and there's no questioning it. It's not like Agatha, where there's gray muddying. Penguin's a villain. He killed this kid. He's a bad guy, and now I want to see Batman kick his ass.
The Penguin. I'm gonna say this: the Penguin series was better than the Batman.
100%. I agree with you 100%.
This say what you will, as much as you love Batman, I don't care. This show, it's better than the Batman. It's more interesting. It's just all around. I found the show to be phenomenal, and I like the Batman a lot. So I don't say that lightly, but it's great.
Aaron, do you agree? Disagree?
He barely. I was sitting there as the time was ticking off, like Brandon, so what are we gonna do? Is this kid really about to be in this next one? Just because? And if so, he's gonna have 2 seconds so someone can go, he was in the thing, and that's it. But no, he's not. Nah, he ain't gonna be in Rush Hour 3. Unfortunately.
Yo, thank you. I thought I was the only person who says that.
No, absolutely not. Every time something happens, me and you were laughing about him getting yeeted out of there like he did. Unfortunately.
He's not gonna be in the Batman Part 2.
He's not gonna be the Batman.
I'm sick of you, Oz Cobb. You've been trying to kill us ever since the start of this Batman universe. Jenna and Jamie are like, what the hell is going on? All right, Oz Cobb. This dude came out on top, quite literally. He's in the penthouse with his mom. He's got his she's an escort, right? I
would call her a sex worker.
Yeah.
That's not his girlfriend. He pays her to be there. He's got her dressed in his mom's dress. Got her saying, good boy. It's really weird. It's really uncomfortable. It's so weird. And I think one of the things this show does is make the uncomfortable moments powerful. And over and over and over again. That was so gross watching him have that woman say all that stuff he wished his mom would say to him. And I was like, I don't know, man. Just Oz is so slimy. He looks slimy. The way he dresses when he was sitting in the city hall, it's just jarring when you see him in such a clean environment. But this is just who he is. He's the guy who's going to probably rebuild that underground world and live there. God.
Beanie's just working through it.
This is thank you all for being my therapist tonight. Even when Oz wins, though, he loses. Like every time. Every time Oz gets a win, he loses. He beats Sal Maroni because Sal Maroni had a friggin' heart attack. He he becomes kingpin of Gotham. His mom is a vegetable now. It's and that one tear from her. Oh.
I think that's what makes the ending work so effectively is like he got everything that theoretically he wanted, that he's wanted since he was a small child, of having the penthouse, having his mom there, having the old-timey outfit, which I love that we had like the Oppenheimer style sequence of just him getting that outfit. Like I love that we earned it, because in any other TV show context, I would be like, why are we earning this costume? But it worked really well. But he has everything and it's all empty. It's all hollow. There's nobody in the building. His mom is just in this concrete like upper part of the penthouse. It's not actually meaningful in the way that it should be meaningful, but like he's too corrupted by the situation to even realize that.
Yep.
She didn't even get no cool glasses like Madam Web. It's rough. They're not redeemable at all, bro.
Y'all need to chill with the cracks tonight, okay? There's usually only one. Usually, like once a week, Jamie says something that just breaks me. It's pretty common, but when y'all do it back to back, all right. All right. So from this finale, is there anything more specific that we want to talk about before we get into sort of the Batman 2 of it all?
I do want to shout out Lauren LaFranc for just like crushing this as the showrunner. I don't know if our listeners know this, but she was a writer on a little show called Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and this is just proof that she's always had the sauce. This feels like a good time to plug that tomorrow on Love in the Time of Hydra at 6 p.m. Pacific time, Craig Titley, a writer of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., is going to be on Lido. Check it out live. But no, Lauren LaFranc is amazing. And I love how much I can be like, yeah, I always knew that.
Where can people find Lido?
We're live on YouTube. We're and Twitch, and then later the episode will be available on all podcast platforms.
Okay, all right.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah, I want to make sure everybody knows how to find it with ease. Yeah, Lauren LaFranc crushed it. I think the cast crushed it. I think the set designers crushed it on the Penguin, because Gotham was so gross looking, but consistently gross looking. We got a cameo from the mayor in this episode, so it's all connected. Clearly, I think that was something that was shot separately. Like, I don't think Colin Farrell and I don't know the woman's name who plays the mayor, but I don't think they were on set at the same time. That's how I took that, but I don't really care. I'm just my film nerd being picky. One thing we didn't talk about: the letter from Selena Kyle.
Yeah,
I would love to know what that damn letter said, but.
I thought for a second we were going to get like a Zoe Kravitz voiceover. And I'm glad we didn't, because that would have been kind of weird. Yeah. Also, Jamie Lawson plays the mayor. So shout out.
Okay, Jamie Lawson. What do you guys think that letter said?
I mean, it could have said a million different things. I don't know. I feel like it's like Sophia made such a public impression over the course of the series that I'm sure wherever Selena is, like between part 1 and part 2 of the movies, like she probably noticed and is like, oh, that's my half sister. Maybe I should reach out, because we both have been extremely screwed over by the system. So that made me really happy. I know people in the comments have been like, we need a Catwoman show. And I have been on that train since the Batman came out. And it would be really cool to see the two of them kind of just team up in any sort of capacity.
I don't like, she obviously can't put this in the letter because the Arkham's reading the letter, but girl's a master thief. She can break into there. She can break her out. She can steal her sister. Again, that can't be what was in the letter, but I feel like that's coming.
Yeah.
I think I find it interesting how the women of Gotham kind of look out for the women of Gotham being a thing we noticed pretty thoroughly in the Penguin. And I think it'll be interesting to see that applied to Selena and Sophia. Now they're half sisters. They're going to have a bond built in. I think there is that women protecting women in this awful city vibe going on. And I'm real curious to see how that's going to tie into like Bruce and Batman. Like if Selena brings Sophia around with Bruce, world's greatest detective, should know she's not the Hangman. But like, everybody there, as far as we know, is pretty convinced she's awful. So now she's back in Arkham with the Falcone estate having just burned down. So they're really piling on this whole she's crazy narrative. And I think Selena's going to be a lifeline for her. And I really think Selena's the only person who's going to hate Oz Cobb and see Oz Cobb as an adversary as strongly, if not more strongly, than Batman and Catwoman will. So that'd be cool. I also think the Batman, whether it's in 2 or 3, whenever really Oz and Bruce come to like head to head, I think you're going to have like Oz embedded sort of in the politics of Gotham now, and Penguin running the criminal side of it, and you'll have Bruce also the face of like politics in Gotham, and probably whatever role he's going to play as Bruce starts to emerge, because he was so not present in the Batman one. And then you'll have Batman will be the one fighting like the Penguin, the criminal, who, I mean, Oz is a criminal, but does that make sense?
Yeah. I also just have to say, it's been funny across this entire series airing week to week, just seeing the people be like, when is Batman going to show up? When is he going to show up? Like seeing people expect like the Arkham video game sort of scenario where like this entire show happens, and then in the last 10 minutes of the finale, it's just you spam the Xbox buttons and he just beats the crap out of Oz and the show's over. It's like that was never going to happen. And even when like the city's getting exploded, all of this other stuff's happening, like I get why Bruce isn't there. Like this is not his story that he needs to really be a part of, but it is going to be interesting to see, because I know people have had the theories of like, are we going to get Harvey Dent in the sequel? And like, does that have to do with the anti-corruption task force that they mentioned in this episode? There's like a Elliot something street sign in one of the other episodes. So people are like, are we getting Tommy Elliot? Are we getting Hush? Like, I feel like there are a lot of options specifically with that, but I do agree with you that like either way, we're going to see both Bruce and the Batman like be more of a thing going forward. Definitely with Oz.
Jenna, as our resident who knows most about DC, I mean, I think a lot of us are kind of expecting No Man's Land to be a comic inspiration for this, right? So is there any precedent in that comes to mind where you're like, okay, where the Penguin left off? Like, obviously it's not as No Man's Landy in all of Gotham, like Crown Point fits that, but not all of it. So is there anything that comes to mind when you think of that comic where you're like, yeah, I could see that becoming a big factor?
I think there's definitely precedent for it, but like you said, like we're in such uncharted territory with it. I really I think it's just more Oz being in the position that he's really in, and like you said, how is that going to affect the government versus the crime that he's doing? Like it's going to be a lot of different options there. I do also think, like I said, like Bruce's public persona is going to definitely be a more prominent part of that, of like how he chooses to fight all of that.
Yeah. So this is I think this leads direct. Like, I think the Batman Part 2 could pick up right where this left off, because Matt Reeves has said starts in the winter. We've seen now snow on the ground right next to Vic's cold body. Oh my God. And listen, I laughed to hide the pain. I did the same thing to Natasha Romanoff for years. Now it's Vic's turn. I'm sorry. I will say, you talk about a punch, a beat him up, shoot him down type of finale. This wasn't a Marvel show. Like I said, I love my Marvel stuff, and if this was a Marvel show, I think it wouldn't have been Batman, because they don't throw the big heroes in at the end of the Marvel shows like we kind of expected when Disney Plus shows first started rolling out. They just throw a new costume on the hero that's not called the hero yet. Like this, I'm glad this didn't go into my number one criticism of most of the Disney Plus stuff that we get from Marvel. It really didn't, and I think it stayed true to itself. I think that was I appreciate that. All right. Anything else you want to talk about before we do our 10 scores? Oh, wait.
Oh.
Go ahead. No, I saw a note that I forgot to bring up, but go ahead.
Well, I just have to say, like, there's also been the prevailing theory of like, are we going to get a Robin at some point in this trilogy? Part of me now, after this series, really, really wants that to happen, because going into the show, they really kind of build Vic and Oz as like a screwed up version of Batman and Robin. And so I think now that we know what happens to Victor, I want to see Oz meet Robin in the field with Batman and just kind of have this knowing thing of like, you brought a kid into your crusade, and like that is really dangerous, because I had the same thing happen and I had to kill him. Like, I really need that to happen, because I just think that moment would hit like a gut punch. What were you going to say, Jamie?
Oh, I wanted to add on that I too never thought we were going to see Batman, but I wanted to shout out TJ from Agents of Fandom for kind of bringing to my attention the fact that most of the show takes place during the day and Batman's sleeping anyway.
Yeah.
Like, Batman's asleep during all this. So that's why we finally get the bat signal at the end, because it's nighttime. And I kind of love that. So shout out to TJ, because I probably never would have thought of that.
Going off that was the point. It kind of leads into the point I forgot to make a minute ago. This is my last one here. It's kind of a question. With all this stuff that has happened in this, including a massive explosion, which a lot of criminals have been now tied to publicly as well, does this sort of make the Batman and Gordon look a little weak? like uninvolved, unintimidating after the Batman Part 1 opened with all the criminals just terrified of him showing up. None of these people were scared of him. And they were doing some big old crazy bombastic shit.
I have found that to be an interesting through line through the whole show of like I feel like some of the crime bosses really just see the Batman as like this weird nuisance of like, this guy is just dressing up ostensibly as like a wrestler and just going out in the middle of the night and doing this while we're doing our real work. And so I almost think in their eyes, they already were viewing him kind of like a little bit lesser than what they were doing. But I don't know. I think in a public way, the city of Gotham is so big that I don't think people are going to see these explosions, see these things on the news and be like, where was Batman? Why didn't he stop it? Like, I think it's just a big enough city that like stuff can just happen anyway.
There's other crime going on.
Yeah.
Aaron, what were you going to
say? I was like, this is very funny because like, I feel like this pervades the entire genre so much is whenever there's a problem, especially with the other shows we watch, people are like, well, why didn't this person come and just solve it? It is the maps in this show you just how big this thing is, like how big Gotham is and how hard it would be, especially a like year 2 or so Batman with no Robin. There's no Batwoman, you know, there's no other stuff. There's not even Alfred really, other than just to stitch him up yet. So that stuff all makes sense. But also the only one of them that would have any respect for the whole Batman thing would be Oz, right? Because he's the only one that's been physically threatened and like roughed up by him yet, right? I think.
He had the car chase. I got you.
Yeah, exactly. He made fun of him because he doesn't know Spanish, other stuff.
Yeah.
I do. I find it interesting that there was not even a reference to the fear of Batman in Gotham when. But I agree. You know, I'll concede early in Batman's career, but I stand by the beginning of that movie was really saying criminals are scared of him.
But they do say at the end of the movie that he has a different reputation, that it's slightly more like the symbol of hope. And then literally the opening minutes of this first episode of The Penguin do carry that thread a little bit. So again, I think it's just like still bigger fish to fry. This is so soon after the events of the first movie that like he's probably still just focused on that, and then all of this extra stuff that's happening is just happening. It's like, what is he going to do? Go to like the bomb having been like set off and go like investigate in the rubble? No, he has other stuff he's probably dealing with, and like Jamie said, it's during the day. So
he's got a lot of fish to fry. He hasn't switched to birds yet.
Yeah.
Anybody? No. Okay. Penguin. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's rate it out of 10.
We understand.
I just. All right. It's all right. Yep. Here we go. Rate my joke out of 10. No, don't do that. The Penguin. Should we rate the Penguin series or finale out of 10? What do you think?
I don't know.
I say series because we have I say series.
Okay.
All right. Jamie, your idea. Start us off. Rate the Penguin series out of 10.
Oh, I'm going to give it a 9.9.
9.9. That's pretty high.
Yeah, I loved it. And I will say episode 4, it was one of my favorite episodes of television in a long time. I loved episode 4 deeply. And it's the only reason it's missing that little tiny is because this is not the kind of, you know me, I'm all about rewatchability. I can't picture myself sitting down and being like, time to watch this for the 4th time in a year. But I still loved it. It was spectacular. So I'm going 9.9.
Christmas time is here. Let's get the fam together and watch the Penguin. Aaron, what'd you think out of 10?
Oh man, I'm not gonna ruin the Metacritic average, I suppose. It's not completely my speed, but it was thrilling. And 4 is one of the better episodes of TV we've probably seen all year out of any of the comic book media. So that's crazy. I mean, I can't give you 10. I mean, they killed Vic, man. Vic died for no good reason. When a young lady comes up to you and tells you to run away with her on the mega bus, you gotta at least consider it with more consistency and more conviction than poor Vic did. But yeah, it's a 9.
All right, we got a 9. We got Jenna Anderson with the score.
I'm going to say a 9.8 because I think, like, to Jamie's point, this definitely isn't going to be super rewatchable, something I really, really want to revisit. I do, like, it before part 2 comes out, I'm definitely going to just revisit this with that hindsight. I do think it is just brilliantly executed. It justified its existence in so many ways that I wasn't really prepared for when they initially greenlit the show. And just Kristen Milioti gave one of the best performances I think I have ever seen in a live action comic book adaptation. So like that alone, it is so high for me, 9.8.
I am going to, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do it. This is a 10 out of 10. I think this show was phenomenal. I don't know how you make this better. If you can get complaining about Batman out of the way, like really, I really think like if you just take that away, I don't really have anything I'd say that could have been done better. I think the pacing, the acting, the writing, the multiple times there were perspective shifts by adding context after you saw something, after you met a character, especially with how episode 4 did that after making Sophia out to be this crazy, awful person in the first 3 episodes. It did it again in the finale with the Sophia set up to be killed by Oz. I just think it was perfect. And I mean, we talk about Kristen Milioti. She was absolutely amazing. We all love her now. I mean, if you didn't already. Colin Farrell's amazing. Renzi Feliz was fantastic. Think about this kid's performance from the beginning of the show when the character was unable to talk, and now he's rallying gang members just before he dies. It was incredible work. And Deirdre O'Connell, who played Frances, who played Oz's mom. What a hell of a performance. Yeah, I mean, I think it was great. Stay away from the Rex Calabrese's of the world, y'all. All right, so that brings us to an average score of 9.7 out of 10. Phase Hero gives the Penguin a 9.7 out of 10, and I'd say that's a pretty good score.
So while we've been talking, The Hollywood Reporter published an interview with Colin Farrell where he confirmed that he will appear in 5 to 6 scenes in the Batman Part 2 and is also signed on for another film after that. So we have some insight into what's next for him.
5 to 6 scenes is interesting. You don't hear that.
Yeah.
That kind of reporting.
Yeah.
5 to 6 scenes. That means he's probably read the whole script, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Or like just his 5 to 6 scenes. That was stupid. What did I mean? That doesn't make sense.
It also it's interesting to me, like knowing Riddler is still in play. Like we have Joker waiting in the wings. We have, like I said, we could have Two-Face. We could have Hush. So many other things. Like knowing we're going to get Penguin, but not necessarily as like the big bad of Part 2. I'm totally content with that. So I'm glad to hear like we're still getting him, and it's not just going to be like a scene or 2.
Yeah, I really think he's going to be basically the big bad or aligned with the big bad for the third movie in the trilogy more than the second one, which doesn't surprise me. Yeah, wow, that's really interesting news. I like that they're saying that. I like that it's already out there. Great catch, Jenna. All right. Anything else for today's Penguin finale review we want to throw in here? Or should we wrap this one up? All right, that's
Good
a
job,
no.
everybody.
Victor Aguilar himself, Renzi Feliz, is on Phase Hero tomorrow, so go ahead, set the reminder, send our show to your friend, play it for your Batman. Jenna, any last words for today's show?
It's at Hey It's Jenna Lynn on social media. As always, go read some comics and go follow my YouTube channel, which is also called Go Read Some Comics. I have a new video that I'm going to get ready and hopefully have posted earlier this week. And just take care of yourself this week, whatever that looks like. Just do whatever makes you happy, because we definitely need as much of that as humanly possible right now.
And I will tell you right now, youtube.com/@GoReadSomeComics will make you happy.
Thank you.
Jamie Jurek.
Yeah, I want to say, this is our first episode since the election. I want to apologize. I know some people were disappointed that we didn't do a Venom 3 reaction. I think we needed some process time, and that's coming. Don't worry. We're going to find out about our Venom horse. And I want to say, if you're like me, you're probably scared. What's happening in this world? And what can we do? And all I want to say is that we, as journalists, we're living in a time where truth is maybe not necessarily as important as it used to be. The integrity that comes with truth is not necessarily as big of a deal as it used to be. We have big important figures using the word fact check as a dirty word. And if you don't want to live in that world, all I can say to you and all of your listeners, when you're online, when you're looking at something as simple as Marvel News, if you see a tweet about a news, fact check it, Google it, see if it's true. Even if you want it to be true, don't just like it and move along, because I think that's why we've ended up sometimes and where we are in life, is that we are not taking stock in the truth anymore. And it's so so simple. If you see something that sounds cool, looks like news, just Google it. And I know that we on Phase Hero will do everything we can to bring you, when it comes to movie and TV news, not the most important thing in the world, but we're gonna do it with the utmost integrity that we can do. And be nice to your neighbors. If someone says they love something, ask yourself, why are you gonna bash it down? Why are you gonna be mean? Try to be nice to each other. Don't be nasty. Love your neighbors, and above all, don't take your phones out in the movie theater, please.
You mean to tell me that Keanu Reeves isn't playing Ghost Rider 7 times over by now?
Dear God.
But I saw AI fan art that totally proved it was true. Come on.
Aaron, which good, well said, Jamie. Very well said.
Yes.
How do you follow? I'm at Something Like Hornet on Twitter. Thank you guys for being so excited about all the news that comes out. Be sure to catch this Penguin interview tomorrow. That's going to be amazing to watch. I am now really even more interested than I was going to be before, because I don't even know how you even approach. Like, how does it feel? Like, I'm waiting to hear. And I think you said Wednesday we're doing all the crazy stuff from Brazil G23, where I'm sure there was a Brazilian Jamie Dirac who was there breaking down all the footage and learning all the stuff for us. I'm sure that's going to be great. And go look at Jamie and Brandon having the best time at the Wicked premiere, because I'm just like, I had no real crazy expectation for this at all. And Brandon and everybody else, they say it's amazing. So now I'm here. I'm ready for the cinema. I'm going to go find myself a gray pinstripe suit to go soak in the cinema now.
Wicked was amazing. Jamie, I want to real quick about Wicked, and I think we should talk about Wicked on Wednesday because I loved this movie. There was a point in the movie that made everybody cry, and all you could hear was sniffling. And I don't know if you heard this. I don't know where you were sitting, but I heard someone in the theater at that scene. I think you know the scene I'm talking about. Where some woman, I believe, from the front of the theater goes, "Oh my God, I can't stop fucking crying." And like the whole theater heard it. It was like we all heard it because it was so quiet. And then there was a laughter followed by more cries. But it was, Wicked was phenomenal. It was so good.
I didn't hear it, but I'll tell you, I was fucking crying too.
All right, y'all. Thank you so much for hanging with us and talking about Penguin tonight. Renzi Felice tomorrow. Regular show Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern time on the channel. Brad Winderbaum a couple hours after that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Play our show for your dad. Play it for your cat. And we will see you all tomorrow. And then 2 days after that. And for as long as we all shall be available to talk to you on Phase Hero with you all listening. I stalled long enough to pull up the outro. Here it is. Good night.
You